Ashe, and welcome to another special episode of our Mandatory Mental Liberation series, produced by our esteemed elder Baba Jelani Bumani Dembe, the brilliant founder of Majestic Mind Matters University. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin, for this new episode. The necessity of the Mandatory Mental Liberation series at Majestic Mind Matters University lies in our focus on serving our melanin-rich culture nation. By addressing the importance of knowledge of self to produce greater self-awareness and advocating for our mental liberation, especially for our precious melanin-rich culture children, our messages aim to combat the enduring effects of generational mental enslavement stemming from the historical trauma of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors. Our initiative seeks to empower us to break free from these harmful and unfavorable legacies and cultivate a deep-rooted sense of self-identity and unwavering resilience. In a world where words carry weight, these terms hold a history of oppression and discrimination. Our melanin-rich culture nation has not given up on the fight for liberation. We know that terms like Black or brown people, people of color, perpetuate stereotypes and homogenize our melanin-rich culture people. In this message, it will only be used to maintain clarity for those who are not yet up to our melanin-rich culture standards. By embracing indigenous terms like Alkebulan, this name means mother of mankind, in various African languages such as Akuyu, Swahili, and Kemet, referring to ancient Egypt, and rejecting the terms Africa or African, these oppressive terms, which are unknown to many. We are reclaiming our melanin-rich culture narratives and asserting our royal cultural pride. Our melanin-rich culture nation uses terms like chattel enslavement instead of slavery, and the enslavers rather than masters, to highlight the brutal and dehumanizing nature of historical and systemic oppression. The term chattel enslavement emphasizes the objectification of the ancestors as property, rather than acknowledging them as humans. Referring to oppressors as the enslavers instead of masters shifts the focus to the injustice and violence perpetrated by those in power. These terms accurately reflect the systemic exploitation and inhumanity faced by our melanin-rich culture communities throughout history, challenging traditional narratives that downplay the severity of these atrocities. Knowing the power of language in shaping global societal perceptions and challenging systemic racism is our first step to true liberation. Now, let's get started with this very special message titled, The Illusion of Divine Authority, Melanin-Rich Minds Awakened. It is crucial for our melanin-rich people to understand the insidious nature of the systematic propaganda that has been used to keep us mentally enslaved. One of the most powerful tools of this propaganda has been the promotion of a God called Jesus, who supposedly exists in a book that also justifies the chattel enslavement of the ancestors. This narrative serves to reinforce the oppressive structures that continue to marginalize and oppress us to this day. The concept of a God called Jesus, as portrayed in the Bible, has been used as a tool of control by our oppressors for centuries. The teachings and stories within the Bible have been twisted and manipulated to justify the subjugation of melanin-rich people and to uphold the white supremacist ideology that underpins the global power structures. By promoting the idea that we are meant to be enslaved, the oppressors have effectively maintained a system of mental and spiritual bondage that keeps us subservient and disempowered. The promotion of the Christian faith among melanin-rich people has been a deliberate tactic to perpetuate the myth of white supremacy and maintain the status quo of racial hierarchy. The portrayal of Jesus as a white man, despite historical and geographical evidence to the contrary, serves to uphold the belief in the superiority of whiteness and the inferiority of melanin-rich people. This false representation of Jesus as a figure of divine authority further entrenches the notion that our enslavement is justified and ordained by a higher power. By internalizing the narrative of a God who condones our enslavement, melanin-rich people have been conditioned to accept our subjugation as a natural and inevitable state of being. This psychological manipulation has profound implications for our sense of self-worth, agency, and autonomy. It erodes our capacity to challenge the oppressive systems that perpetuate our oppression and limits our ability to envision a future in which we are truly free and equal. In order to break free from the mental chains of this propaganda, it is essential for our melanin-rich people to critically examine the narratives that have been imposed upon us. We must question the validity and intent behind the teachings that reinforce our subjugation and challenge the distorted representations of our history and identity. By reclaiming our own narratives and asserting our own truths, we can begin to dismantle the structures of control that have been constructed to keep us oppressed. It is important for our melanin-rich people to recognize that the story of Jesus and the chattel enslavement of our ancestors are not immutable truths, but rather constructed myths designed to uphold the power and privilege of the oppressors. By understanding the origins and intentions behind these narratives, we begin to reclaim our power and agency and work towards a future in which we are liberated from the shackles of mental enslavement. It is imperative for our melanin-rich people to deconstruct the narrative of a God called Jesus that justifies our enslavement and perpetuates our mental bondage. By rejecting the propaganda that has been used to keep us subservient, we can reclaim our autonomy and agency and strive towards a future in which we are truly free and equal. It is only through understanding and challenging the systems of oppression that have been imposed upon us that we can break free from the chains of mental enslavement and create a world in which all melanin-rich people are valued, respected, and empowered. It is crucial for our melanin-rich people to understand how the oppressors used religion and the concept of Jesus to justify the chattel enslavement of our Alkebulan ancestors. This knowledge is essential for us to fully grasp the depth of the systemic oppression and dehumanization that our ancestors endured, as well as to understand the lasting impact it has had on our melanin-rich culture communities. The oppressors used various tactics to validate their brutal treatment of our enslaved ancestors, with religion playing a significant role in this justification. One of the ways in which they utilized religion was through the manipulation of the Bible. They would selectively choose passages that mention slavery or servitude to claim that the enslavement of the ancestors was sanctioned by God. By twisting the words of the Bible, they sought to legitimize their cruel and exploitative actions. Furthermore, the oppressors depicted the ancestors as inferior beings in need of salvation, using the concept of Jesus to reinforce this narrative. They propagated the idea that enslaving us was a form of benevolence, as it would supposedly bring them closer to God and save their souls. By presenting themselves as saviors, the oppressors attempted to justify their oppressive actions and maintain a sense of moral superiority. The oppressors also saw the conversion of our enslaved ancestors to Christianity as a means of exerting control and dominance. They believed that by imposing their religion on our ancestors, they could instill a sense of submission and obedience in them. This forced conversion not only stripped our enslaved ancestors of their cultural identity, but also reinforced the oppressors' power over them. The concept of Jesus was weaponized to compel the ancestors to abandon their traditional knowledge and practices, further eroding their autonomy and agency. Moreover, the oppressors used the idea of Jesus to reinforce the hierarchical structure of society, positioning themselves as agents of divine will. They believed that they were ordained by God to rule over and exploit our people, thus justifying their oppressive behavior. This distortion of religious teaching served to perpetuate the subjugation of our enslaved ancestors and perpetuate a system of exploitation and abuse. In essence, the concept of Jesus was perverted and manipulated by the oppressors to maintain their control over our enslaved ancestors and justify their heinous treatment of them. By distorting religious doctrines and exploiting the vulnerability of our enslaved ancestors, the oppressors sought to solidify their power and perpetuate a system of oppression that would have lasting ramifications for generations to come. Understanding the ways in which religion and the concept of Jesus were used to justify the enslavement of our ancestors is crucial for our melanin-rich people. It sheds light on the insidious mechanisms of control and manipulation that were employed by the oppressors, and highlights the resilience and strength of our ancestors in the face of unspeakable atrocities. By acknowledging this painful history, we honor the legacy of those who came before us and pave the way for a more just and equitable future. Throughout history, the oppressors used religion and the concept of Jesus to justify the chattel enslavement of our Alkebulan ancestors in several ways. It is crucial for our melanin-rich individuals to understand the manipulation of religion in this context, as it sheds light on the systemic oppression that has been ingrained in our society for centuries. Religion was often utilized by the enslavers to portray themselves as morally superior to our enslaved ancestors. By invoking religious texts and teachings, the oppressors sought to justify their exploitation and mistreatment of our people. They spread the belief that it was their divine duty to convert the heathen Alkebulans to Christianity, and in doing so, they used this justification to justify the brutal practices of chattel enslavement of the ancestors. Furthermore, the concept of Jesus was distorted and weaponized by the oppressors to reinforce their authority over our enslaved ancestors. They portrayed Jesus as a white savior figure who came to earth to save humanity, therefore reinforcing the idea of white supremacy and justifying the subjugation of Alkebulan people. This manipulation of religious imagery and narrative served to dehumanize and control our enslaved ancestors, erasing their own cultural and spiritual practices in favor of the oppressors' beliefs. Understanding the role of religion in the justification of chattel enslavement is essential for our melanin-rich individuals because it helps us make sense of the historical trauma and oppression that our ancestors endured. By recognizing how religion was used as a tool to dehumanize and oppress us, we can begin to unravel the deep-seated wounds that continue to impact our melanin-rich culture communities today. This knowledge allows us to confront the painful legacy of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors and work towards healing from the intergenerational trauma that has been passed down through the generations. Moreover, by understanding the ways in which religion was manipulated to justify oppression, we begin to deconstruct harmful narratives and beliefs that have been perpetuated in society. The false narrative of white superiority and our inferiority that was created by the oppressors continues to affect how our melanin-rich individuals are perceived and treated in the present day. By challenging these ingrained prejudices and biases, we work towards dismantling systems of oppression and creating a more just and equitable society for us as well. In conclusion, it is crucial for our melanin-rich culture people to know and understand the role of religion and Jesus in the justification of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors. This knowledge allows us to confront the painful history of our ancestors and begin the process of healing from the trauma that continues to affect our melanin-rich culture communities. By deconstructing harmful narratives and beliefs, we work towards creating a future that is more hopeful and empowering for ourselves and our future generations. It is only by acknowledging and understanding the past that we can truly move forward towards a better future for us as well. It is crucial for our melanin-rich culture people to understand the integral role that religion played in justifying the chattel enslavement of our Alkebulan ancestors by the oppressors. The oppressors used religion, particularly Christianity, as a tool to dehumanize, oppress, and justify the brutal treatment of our ancestors. By recognizing and deconstructing the harmful narratives and beliefs perpetuated by religion in the context of chattel enslavement, we can empower ourselves in several ways. Firstly, understanding the ways in which religion was used to justify and perpetuate the chattel enslavement of our ancestors allows us to challenge and dismantle these harmful narratives. Religion was often twisted and manipulated to portray us as inferior and deserving of chattel enslavement. By shedding light on these injustices, we begin to challenge the deeply ingrained beliefs that continue to oppress us today. By critically examining the role of religion in perpetuating systemic racism and oppression, we work towards creating a more just and equitable society for us as well. Secondly, recognizing the harmful narratives and beliefs perpetuated by religion in the context of chattel enslavement, if the ancestors allows us to reclaim our own histories and identities. Throughout history, religion has been used as a tool to erase and distort the cultures and traditions of our people. By understanding how religion has been weaponized against us, we will reclaim and celebrate our heritage, strengthening our sense of identity and self-worth. By embracing our roots and reclaiming our narratives, we resist the erasure and marginalization that has been forced upon us for far too long. Furthermore, by recognizing the ways in which religion has been used to justify and perpetuate systemic injustices, we work towards dismantling these systems of oppression. Religion has often been co-opted by those in power to maintain control and enforce hierarchy. By challenging these harmful beliefs and narratives, we advocate for change within religious institutions and work towards creating a more equitable society for us as well. By confronting the ways in which religion has been used as a tool of oppression, we work towards building a more just world where we are treated with dignity and respect. It is imperative for our melanin-rich people to understand the role that religion played in justifying the chattel enslavement of our Alkebulan ancestors by the oppressors. By recognizing and challenging the harmful narratives and beliefs perpetuated by religion in this context, we will empower ourselves to confront injustice, reclaim our identities, and work towards building a more equitable and just society for us as well. It is only by confronting our past and understanding the ways in which religion has been used against us that we will truly move forward towards a future of liberation and equality. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin. We trust that this special message has expanded your understanding through the insights shared by our highly esteemed producer, Elder Baba Jelani Bamani Dembe, founder of Majestic Mind Matters University, in our Mandatory Mental Liberation Series special message. Remember this, it is essential to honor the ancestors. We have a unique connection to the ancestors. They endured many unwarranted struggles, preserved our melanin-rich culture, and passed down invaluable wisdom through many generations. By honoring the ancestors, we pay honorable tribute to our roots and draw great strength and much-needed inspiration from the unwavering resilience and royal legacy that has paved the way for our present and future generations. Ancestral reverence is a powerful way for us to continually uphold our own melanin-rich identity, heritage, and cultural legacy. Here is an ancient Alkebulan proverb to keep in mind. If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have not spent the night with a mosquito. Remember this as well, whenever you are in the presence of anyone, saying, "They don't see color," it actually means, "They don't see you." We recognize that the name Alkebulan, instead of Africa, as a royal member of our melanin-rich culture nation, we must strive for knowledge of self for greater personal awareness. Always treat yourself kindly and seek to live a totally awesome and gloriously fulfilling melanin-rich culture life. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. So, like, subscribe to stay updated, and share this very special melanin-rich culture link with everyone that you care about and that really cares about you and all of yours as well. And thank you for listening to this enchanting special message titled, "The Illusion of Divine Authority, Melanin-Rich Minds Awakened." Stay woke. Ashe.